So if you don't mind, I'm happy to have a little conversation with you all while Chrissy is getting connected. If anybody wants to talk right now, I'm happy to do that. So Claudia, if you would like to let people just freely talk to me in the meantime. It's Sunday morning. Where are we? Sunday morning at 11 a.m. in October 3rd, or is it 4th? October 4th. How do you feel about that, Claudia? Can we do that just while we're waiting for Chrissy, and then we can go back to our normal setup?
Yeah, I can. I'm gonna let everybody unmute themselves soon.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everybody. We're waiting for Chrissy. You have the opportunity to unmute yourself while we're waiting for Chrissy, and you can have a conversation with me if you have any questions or comments. This is being recorded, so we can share this with Chrissy once she's on later, a little later. Happy Sunday, solar day. Good morning. We're just, like I said, we're waiting for Chrissy. If there's any questions or comments about our previous talks or something you'd be interested in, I'm available right now to take any questions or just a little conversation. How is everybody doing? A little check-in. Anybody?
Good morning.
I'll start with me. Good morning.
You hear me?
I can.
Great. Thank you for hosting.
Tell me who?
Thank you for hosting another Sundays conversation. I'm really enjoying them. I do want to share that today is the first day of the Gat Tresana on the Mayan calendar. So I'm really looking forward to how that's going to kind of weave into the discussion today.
That's going to be really interesting. So Chrissy has done her, she is our researcher in that. She's the one who brings forth that knowledge. So we'll definitely ask her to share some of that today as well. In fact, we might just start with that when she's on. Thank you for asking. Where are you calling? Where are you hooking up from?
Right now I'm on the move in the San Gabriel Valley.
Oh, wonderful. See, technology. Amazing, right? We get to connect this way. It's just the most amazing blessing. Go ahead.
My family had 3 generations. I grew up in the San Gabriel Valley, and we would go, it was free to go to the San Gabriel Mission Gardens. So yes. On the weekends, my parents would take me and I would play in the garden there. And as a child, you could feel the pain. And it's amazing because I was just thinking of that this morning, of how I was connected as a child to feeling what was needed there, where now as an adult, I'm so busy in my head that I can't feel it.
Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about that today. Thank you for saying that, Julie. Yeah, I went to high school there, and I definitely understand what you're talking about. I know, small world, right? Yeah. So I understand that, and that's really something about that toxicity that gets in our way. There she is. Yay, she's here. Hi, Chrissy. Hi. Okay, so we're going to put everybody else on mute, and
oh, sorry, I muted everybody. I will now unmute Dr. Elena and Chrissy.
There we go. Welcome, sister. I'm so happy you're here.
Oh, thank you.
Hola, Chrissy.
Good morning, everybody. I'm going to start the Instagram.
Good morning. Okay.
Hi. So,
Greetings to all. We are now getting started. And Chrissy, do you want to start? Do you want to open it up with a blessing?
If you just want to make a little announcement, since I'm live on Instagram, just that you will be only able to see me. Hopefully you could hear the doctor, but you could go to my link or her link in the bio, and you could join our Zoom meeting where you can see both of us and participate in the actual group part of this conversation. So I see, Claudia, you could hear. So once Elena starts talking, if you could send me something to let me know that you could hear her. So why don't you open up to see if she could hear you?
Okay. I'm just going to go ahead and open up with a blessing. I want to thank the spirits of this land, the spirits of the four directions, and thank you for allowing us, and the great spirit that connects us to all things and to all generations and all aspects of, the universal force around us. Since we are moving beyond just place and time and territory, we just ask for blessing from those that protect us and those that guide us, that you watch over us and you create this sense of community. We give gratitude for all the energies that surround us and are present and offering us their energy so that we can be guided with clarity. And we ask for your insights. We ask for protection, and we look forward to the blessings of this solar day. Welcome, everyone.
So it sounds good. It sounds like they could hear you on the other end. So I'll just make sure
Wonderful.
that when you talk, I give you an opportunity to finish so that we don't cross voices. And if you could just make sure your volume is at its maximum.
Mine?
Yes.
Okay. Yep.
Okay.
Oh, I guess I am now. How's that? Is that different?
She'll let me know in a second. She said it was a little low, but if you did what you had to do. So why don't you start us off with what we were going to dive into today?
Well, today we wanted to dive into just continue on that aspect of self-care and looking at how we look at ourselves, how we view ourselves. It's really, I love this idea of sharing our personal stories. And actually, while we were waiting for you, Chrissy, one of the participants wanted just kind of a segue in before we dive into what we want to talk about, and was asking how today's solar day on the Mayan calendar, the Aztec calendar, is moving into a new field. And if you wanted to take a few minutes to express where we are cosmically and how that might affect us, so that we have a base of how to look to ourselves during this time and maybe for the next couple of days.
In regards to the Mayan calendar or in general?
Yeah. Yes. Actually, I think you're, just even like the pattern, what pattern are we moving into right now?
Oh, okay.
What's our energy today?
Today is the sun's day, and when we enter Sunday, it's the tone of a new cycle. It's also the energy that focuses on our head, the part of us that's directly connected to creation, into consciousness. And it's a good day to go into your whole being, in the sense of I was listening to a Sunday meditation this morning, and what was spoken about the most was about knowing how to clear ourselves every time we enter the sun, so that we can also be aware of what we're carrying, which is going to tie into what we're about to talk about, because everything that we carry, we hold and we retain in different ways. And it's important that we discard the things that are no longer serving us, or our generational DNA as well. Because sometimes, without knowing it, we are attached to habits, tendencies, and even pleasures that have been carried on from life to generations of the lineage we come in through. So today is a good day to clear that, and that's what we'll go dive into.
Wonderful. Thank you. And if somebody feels like they'd like a little bit more, when we get to the question and answer, you can specifically ask Chrissy more about how what is still on your mind. And thank you, Chrissy. You know, as you know, I'm a chiropractor, an herbalist, and life enhancement coach, and as well as Chrissy does that life study, and she's a guide and a counselor in that way, as well as a food expert and a nutritionist. And we both look at the whole body and how it affects our health. And we thought we would be more pragmatic today and talk, you know, about personal care and what our beliefs can do to us, and how we might be influenced on what the expectation of what we should look like or feel like on a regular basis. So with that in mind, something that has come up in the practice is I've had a couple of patients who have now in their fourth and fifth decades of their life, and they're reevaluating decisions they made as younger people with some regret. And some of those decisions had to do with altering their bodies, not necessarily based on good information, but based on needing to feel a certain way or to look a certain way. One specific one that has really been troubling to me, because it's come up more than once, is these surgical procedures to change our bodies and to make them fit an idea, which is the one most pressing one that's on my mind, is this gastric bypass to lose weight. The idea that a medical procedure will help you alter your body. And it's troubling on many levels. But Chrissy, do you want to say anything before I go more into it?
No, again, if not, I feel like you're barely starting, so go ahead.
Okay. If there's something that, if you can also give me some questions to keep me going too. So one of the reasons that was distressing about the commonality of people choosing this kind of idea to alter their body to make them feel, was the bottom line was they didn't feel good about themselves and they wanted to feel better, and they wanted to lose weight. Who doesn't? I think that's a good goal, you know, to keep your weight in check. It's always a good thing to check yourself. The process of doing a surgical procedure to do that is what's troubling, because specifically for this gastric bypass, now I'm going to get medical here. I didn't even understand myself the procedure, but this one particular patient started to describe the process, and after looking into it, I was really upset. I was upset at the medical model that says that this is okay, that we should allow people to do this and not give them all the information. So I don't know if you know anything about the stomach, but the stomach is like the empty sac, like this, the size of your fist, and it sits right above your solar plexus. I mean, right below your solar plexus, just below the esophagus. And its job is really important. It's like the third line in the progression of digestion. And why is it important is because in the surgery, they literally cut half part of the stomach and they make it smaller. And then they go directly from the stomach into the intestines, bypassing the first part of the digestive system. I should have had a picture so that you could see what I'm talking about. I mean, it's literally altering your natural process. And I'm going to get into why this is physically not a good thing, why it's spiritually not a good thing, and mentally why it's not a good thing. The first one physically is, like I said, it's part of your digestive process. So when you're cutting an organ that's normally healthy and necessary, it's as necessary as your lungs are for breathing. And when you cut it, you take away vital cells. Their job is to release intrinsic factor and acids that are used to break down and make digestible fats, meats, proteins, carbohydrates, vegetables, cellulose. It's supposed to take big pieces and break them down. Just on a physical level, that's really important because your body can't absorb anything bigger than little microns. So imagine I'm chopping wood. I can't digest big chunks. Even if I get down to toothpicks, I can't digest. It needs to be dust, basically. And that's the job of the stomach. When you eat too much or you put too much in your body can't digest it. It becomes too much, and it gets sent down into your gut with no ability to be absorbed. That is what it's like when we rush to get information. We rush to this on the mental level. It's like interrupting someone when they're having a conversation. We don't take all of the information. We grab big chunks of it and we try to make sense of big chunks without waiting for it to be broken down so it's understandable. That happens to us mentally. And that's what's happening to our body when we cut things up and we're not able to really digest. We make ourselves sick in the process. And I mean, I'm going to stop there because I don't want to go off into a tangent. I want to pass this over to Chrissy because I want her to help me keep this in perspective.
One of the simple things about the body is that it is a perfect mechanism and it comes with everything it needs. So once we're unhappy with how we may appear physically or externally to others, and the suggestion comes from someone external, whether it's a physician or not, that something can be altered within the body to shortcut you basically from doing the work of whatever reason you are retaining weight. There's a deeper reason than just your physical body not working with you. So once you cut something out, it's pretty counterintuitive to even fathom that the body's going to function as it was meant to. It's like if your mechanic said, like, your radiator belt's not working, let's just cut it out and throw it out. Doesn't make sense. The car needs it for a reason. So what are we going to do now is we're not functioning at 100%. And now the body has to compensate for the organ or the piece of the organ that isn't present anymore. And as somebody I've fluctuated weight very much so in my life from very young until present day, I found that weight has a lot more to do with what's happening with you internally than only what you put in your mouth. Not to say that what you put in your mouth doesn't matter, because it does. But even the reason why you're picking that up and choosing what relationship you're having with what you're consuming has to do with something going on within you. Very much so beginning at the spirit. So I know for myself, whenever I've found myself in any road bump in my life when it comes to health or weight, my first question is, well, what's at the root of it? And when that doesn't get taken care of, but something externally gets taken care of, like you start shedding this weight, you start looking this way that in your mind is what's going to fix how you feel about yourself. But it's a slippery slope, because a bunch of other stuff's going to start cropping up, which is what was underneath not liking how you looked. So you can now look the way you wanted to, perhaps, because there's other side effects we're going to talk about that happen where you don't look 100% like you think you are just because you lost a lot of weight, if it's not in a healthy manner. But then also how you feel about yourself is now present and asking to be dealt with.
That whole idea of in a hurry, that's the whole thing too. Your body is your mirror. Your body is your best friend. We often focus on here to here. This has been our life, Facebook, Instagram, phone calls. It's all about what's right here. We put on a face and we put that face out, hoping that we're going to tell the world, hey, we're all good, like our president, we're all good right here, this is it. And what's happened is that we've ignored from here down. And then when we're in a place where we don't feel so good, we want somebody else to take care of what we neglected in the past. And this is a theme that is going to be carried on from each conversation to the next. We have an opportunity to take the lens and pan it downward so that all the parts of us, we all have places that we don't like to pay attention to, and I think for us to move forward as in humanity and in our evolution, and to connect to all things around us, the animal world, the plant world, and each other human, is that we need to be okay with all of who we are and not just these first 15 inches. And so like Chrissy said, when we look for a quick fix, we have missed the key here. The key is to take the pieces and bring value to each of these pieces, because they're a whole. Our digestive tract is a whole. It starts in the mouth with the teeth, the saliva, the chewing, that's the first step. The stomach, which is the part that's being cut out. And, the duodenum is the first 12 inches of your intestines. In this process, though, that is being missed. That's literally bypassed. And in that place is where all the signals telling the body how to make digestive enzymes, happy hormones, it's all in those first 12 inches, and they get bypassed. And what happens is our little fix, an expensive fix, tries to shortcut a place that we think is going to bring us happiness and joy, but in fact brings us more distress, because you've actually physically missed the important chemical breakdown that makes happy hormones. So you're not even getting that on a mental level. And on a digestive level, you're not really digesting food. So your body goes through a strange change, because it can't absorb the important nutrients that you need to make the happy hormones and to receive nutrients from the foods that you're putting your body in. And many people are not who are in that place didn't even eat that good in the first place. So they were lacking nutrients in the first place, and then you've accelerated that lack of being fed. What that does to us spiritually is it disconnects us, because we start to say how we start to feel betrayed by our body because we've done this important procedure to help get us better, and yet you don't feel better. You might look good initially, you might lose weight initially, but you don't feel better, and you feel betrayed by your body. So that joy gets, and you think somebody made a mistake, and you still don't look at you. It's all connected, right, Chrissy?
Yeah, it is connected.
I just want to keep going back to there. It's, we look at things like they're isolated, and that what I do internally or with food isn't going to affect me. I just, recently have gone over I relearn things over and over. I'll take a class 3 or 4 times. And one of the things that I'm restudying is blood. How does blood, how looking at blood can show you who you are. And one of the things that I just got another, oh man, that's a big deal, is in the red blood cells. And this is connected, I promise. And in the red blood cells, when you take blood, it gets divided, it gets centrifuged and separated. About, if this is how much blood was taken out, about this much of the blood is called platelets. And then there's a little layer, that's the white blood cells. And then there's a little more, that's the red blood cells. And I don't know if most people know, but that little bit of white blood cells that gets separated, it's just a small percentage. It's 1% of your blood volume. That 1% is for immunity. It's telling us how strong is your immune system. Where is the other 99% coming from? Well, some of it comes from other places, the liver, but 85% of your immune system is in the gut. Specifically from the stomach, actually from your saliva, all the way through the whole digestive tract to your colon. And when you cut those out, you basically cut out your immunity. Your immunity is like your spiritual, physical protection. So that's one other way that we cut away at our being. We cut away at our ability to interact in the world. When we don't have immunity, we're not going to be able to interact in the world. We're going to have a skewed version of our reality, because even those happy hormones, those hormones that tell us that we're connected, or that we're belong, or that we're protected, are made in that same place. And who we become fearful, we become not emotionally balanced, and we keep trying to figure out why we're not there. So it's a big deal. Go ahead.
We're covering basically the different components of what happens when we're not satisfied with a part of ourselves. And for a lot of people, it begins with the external and how we look. Elena just dove into what happens if you make a choice to actually cut a part of yourself out, like these procedures like gastric bypass or whatnot. But what else, and she brought up immunity as well. Immunity for me begins with how you feel in relation to the world, because that's what's going to drive you to either know what to put inside your body or what to surround yourself around in the first place, to remain really in your center and balanced, because that is what immunity is. Like, there's so much going on in the world. It's about how do you still remain functional and alive with this onslaught of not only organisms that are tiny that you can't see, like germs and
Yeah.
microbes, but also these organisms that are actually very visual, that are not in resonance with where you may want to be or where you're actually already at. One of the things that happens a lot of times when you have had weight and you release a lot of it, I was talking to my daughter about this yesterday because she recently lost a lot of weight. My daughters are thin, but one of them lost a good, I would say 15, 20 pounds. And she sometimes still complains about not wanting to gain more weight, or she can't enjoy her food because then she feels like, oh, is this going to make me gain weight? So I could relate to her because even when I've been at my thinnest, I was still at times, my monkey mind would gravitate towards what isn't perfect still though. So now you don't have 30 extra pounds, but now your stomach's not tight enough, or you still could have abs or something. And I would have to literally redirect. I still do when I start thinking about how I look and comparing myself to something else that isn't me. I have to redirect my mind, because you're not going to be able to eat well, and you're not going to be able to take what you need, even if someone gives it to you, if you don't feel well about who you are and why you even want to be functional in the world. So I think that at times when we approach something externally to fix about ourselves, we miss that what we're truly trying to find is purpose. And so no external fix, whether it's getting butt injections or getting a gastric bypass or joining Jenny Craig or even doing something holistic, is going to necessarily fix the fact that you are really trying to connect with yourself and find your purpose. With that, usually how you look transforms within itself, because now you're shining how you're living. That's really where transformation takes place. One of the things that I did want to touch on this is that when one of the things that helped me see this really clearly, and this is something that is directly connected to the sun and to abundance, because the sun is abundant. It will give you life, right? Whether it's through plants or through the sunshine itself is food, or through water, it gives life. And sometimes we have an overabundance of it, so it doesn't even nurture us anymore, whether through taste or through the nutrients we actually could absorb from it. Fasting was one of the things that really tuned me into what it is I think I need, what I overconsume, and why I connect any of my emotions or who I think I am to these external things. It was through fasting, because through fasting I see that I have breath, and that what I even want to gravitate to, how connected it is to my emotions. And that when I think, I don't come from a place where I think I have a headache if I don't eat, or that I think I'm going to collapse or something, because I know that isn't true. I could go many days without eating. But the thing is that when I do eat, this is harder than not eating. What's harder is that when I do eat, it's mostly for enjoyment. So where do I stop? What's enough for me to be like, you know what, this tasted good, I'm good, versus having like even my refrigerator jam-packed with food. Sometimes that's something I'm preparing to indulge in a sense. I did my best when my kids were younger, and I would really shop every other day versus having a bunch of food. Now I have a lot of food because I have daughters with different different levels of what they feel they need, and how they dive into that. So that's how I perceive weight and nutrition, and how we value who we are in relation to how we look. I really feel like those answers are inside of us. So we have to be very cautious the farther we get outside of that. Like when the solution is so far from you that it's literally about putting something else inside of you, that's already been sealed, because this temple is sealed. So if someone's trying to
complete.
cut it and alter it, I have to just warn that you may be going a little too far outside of the solution.
That is so right on the point. That's the point that I feel I would love to get across, is that we have all the answers inside of us. I often say this when somebody comes: you come with everything you need. You're a complete being. You're like you said, a complete vessel. And we're taught that we can't fix what's wrong with us, that somebody else out there knows how to take care of ourselves, that somebody else out there knows us better than we know ourselves. And I want that to be the point. It's not that you shouldn't pursue any way to help yourself. No, we have an innate want and desire to be better. Whether we delay that or not is not really the question. It's that we have it. And that when we seek outside ourselves for the answer and then realize that didn't do it, it's best not to keep going so far and come back home. Like, what is it about me that needs this, but I'm not looking at? That's when you can go to someone to help you see something about yourself that you may not want to know. We wear our body, like I said, I'm going to go back to our body is our story. So even our weight is a reflection of a story that we're holding. Sometimes weight is our protection. We put it on to protect ourselves, like to make distance between us and the world. And I don't have a problem with that. I don't, because I know that there's a purpose for it. It's how we judge it and make it wrong that turns it into hurting ourselves. And then, that's where that slippery slope goes. It's like we don't spend that valuable time to make peace with ourselves at the end of the day or at the beginning of each morning. And we're not gentle when the process of our own personal journey doesn't bring us quick results. Sometimes those quick results don't come because it's not supposed to. Like we need the time to really be calm and quiet and reevaluate our life and our experiences. And like Chrissy says, it's like we really do want purpose. We want to belong. Even those of us who value our alone time, we still want to belong. And that's the important journey is that we kind of need it all. We're social beings, we're social animals because we come in these bodies, but we all need our personal time. And every place in nature, there's this going inside, and we've forgotten that. We've lost that. There's moments when the journey needs to be slow and quiet, and there's moments.
It's whose time we're on. So like if you're not on the cycles of nature and you're on a calendar that is made by man, or that's where you lose sync. Because there's a natural rhythm that's already flowing.
We keep going back to that, don't we? Where if we, and what better guide can we ask for than this gift of helping us in a process that feels orderly, that is gentle, that gives us a warning when the next transition is. It's like, this is not for nothing. Nature is, like Chrissy said, was the first guide. If we are in sync with nature, that is one of the problems why we end up in these places where we're overfed, undernutrition, undernourished, and overweight, is because the abundance is everywhere all the time, and that's not natural. I have close people to me say, well, what's the problem in eating, these foods all the time? Like we can do it. Not really. Look at us. We're sick people with more than we can choose from. We're sick. We've lost that connection. We're out of sync. We're out of rhythm with ourselves and the universe around us.
I think if there's any questions, this is a great time to have questions. We have about 10 minutes still. And if you want to type it in or raise your hand if you're on Zoom, we'll take questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that there's something very, when we don't like how we look, there's a real powerful place that's directing you into, because there's something about, well, why is it that we're valuing something external and we're not putting enough value on what's our uniqueness, that each individual, so we keep going to that we're a prototype of creation. And if we're a prototype of everything that exists, we also have a uniqueness that is individual to the person. And if we can't put value in what that is to cultivate it and bring it forth, then the truth is nothing external is going to satisfy. And we see that with people who have an abundance of resources and money, they're making themselves look like there's like one prototype that everything looks like. Even when men put on makeup at this point, there's like this face, this mask that everybody's on a social trend that everybody's trying to achieve. But what is that?
So we lose our uniqueness.
We live in a world of clones. And if that is where you want to live, I'm still going to have to be the party pooper, I guess, to say that even then you're going to be edged to want more, because you're going outside versus inside. So just like when a record plays, it starts from the outer edges and it moves into the middle, and that's how we function. That's also a prototype of the universe. So we stay on the outer rim and we want to still seek more outside of us, well, really we're going to fall off even the disc we're on. And that's like what the galaxy even looks like. It looks like a disc. What is on the outer rims, I think we're seeing it. So what's really is what's
that's a really, it is what's inside. And that's a great analogy. We're dating ourselves by saying record players, but no, records. But no, we go back to the classics when it's important, right? So that whole thing about being on the outer rim, it is unstable on the outer rim. And it's the same thing. We keep thinking that there's something better and bigger and more advanced, even in the universe. We're seeking for the next, because we're so bored with the within that we don't take time to really cherish that, what's right here, right now, right in the moment within us. We don't cherish it. We miss it. We miss that uniqueness. Sounds like you were talking about when we start to trend with the vibe of those around us, we wash away our uniqueness. We wash away those beautiful gifts and those places where your energy is important and it feels the field. This and this make them complete. But if we keep wanting to be like this, the other side is missing. And in that external connection to a look or an idea that must be better than this, that life looks better than this one I'm living. The sad truth is the other side is feeling the same way, even if they look more like a look or a trend that might be more acceptable or appealing. It's just as empty. And when we find out that it is, we still have to come back home to ourselves and take off our makeup and change our clothes, and we still have to go back home. So yeah, we want in order to feel needed, we need to love what's already present, that unified space close to us. That's the gift we give the world.
You know, I don't think we're bored with what's within. I think it's a frontier yet explored in the past, like 500 years, I'd say, because not that it never has been, because we have a lot of proof that it has. It's something that we're actually, I think, purposely redirected from. It's the easiest thing to go to access, and it's your birthright, it's the most accessible, it's the most powerful, and it's really where time travel, all these things that supposedly technology was supposed to bring us, including looking good, all of that, that technology was supposedly granting us getting closer to, it actually did the opposite, and it's getting us away from it, because we are the technology. All of that is a copy of the original. We are the original. So if we don't access
Exactly.
our time travel machine, which is the body, if we don't access our, why does that word escape me? Our shape-shifting abilities, our ability to connect, and our ability to be literal grounding poles. There's so much that I probably can't even conceive of in my mind, because we're like at the doorstep of it. We're at the doorway of what has even what the ancestors have gathered are an aspect of the infinity that the universe is, and we're it.
Yeah.
So I don't think
we really
of ourselves. I think that we're redirected. We're redirected outside, and only few people have spoken about the value of the inside, and a lot that society doesn't always value it, so it gets dismissed or ridiculed if it comes from plant medicine, or if it comes from journeys that cannot be visually documented. A lot of that is disregarded.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, when I say bored, I'm gonna say easily distracted away from ourselves. You and I, we're definitely not bored. When I say we, I'm not, I think we've decided that the journey was more exciting to keep looking inside, but we're easily distracted, and one generation teaching the next that's it's better out there than it is in here. That's what I mean by bored. But anyway, we're at the hour mark. I think we're close to the hour mark. So is there any, somebody mentioned, had a comment, which I like, is, they were saying, not on our calendar, that we're on someone else's calendar. I want to go back to that point, because I really think that's just what you just said right now, is that when we keep going outside, we disregard our own calendar. We come from different, origins, and like going back to nature is like, I can find some plants someplace and I can't find them in another place, because there's a uniqueness about what they bring. And the medicine has to come from many places, not just one place. And when we honor each of these places, and we honor each of everybody's solar cycle and their gifts that they bring, we actually expand ourselves and we can learn from it. But to dive all the way wholeheartedly into somebody else's cycle, we're going to find a little bit of suffering and a lot of confusion.
Who had asked the question?
Well, they didn't say, they didn't ask the question. It was just a comment like, wow, on somebody else's calendar, that's out of sync. Like, you can feel, I just thought that was true, that comment threw me into the idea that, yeah, we can honor other people's cycles, but we really do need to be rooted in our own, so that when these cycles interact, we can have a meaningful and an exchange, instead of getting wobbled out of our own cycle. in our own rhythm, in our own calendar, right? Our own, it's not always, every place is different. Flowers bloom at different times, depending on if they're up in the mountains than they are down in the desert. You know, spring flowers bloom in January here in the desert, but in the mountains, it's June and July. And those cycles are important. There's always going to be food somewhere for us to gather. And we can understand that. And the same is our body. My body cycle might be different than Chrissy's. And that's a beautiful honoring. Like we said before, when I'm on it, I got it. And when I'm not, and she's in her cycle, she's got it. And together we can work with each other to help balance, you know, when we need that energy, when I need someone stronger than me in the moment. That's what those cycles are, why they're so important. You know, it keeps going back to honoring yourself in your uniqueness.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds about right. That's
Well, I just want to ask you to remember your wholeness. We are not pieces. Our wholeness is our strength. And can things like these be fixed? Like, okay, let's say parts of you have been cut out. Can you work with that? Absolutely. Go back to re-honoring. I have heard and seen and experienced where parts of the body have been cut out through surgery, and with nutrition and care, those parts have regenerated and grown back. And if the body is smart enough and intelligent enough to use the life force within it to do those things, why couldn't it help you come back to balance? Give it the time and the attention it needs.
Yeah, I think that concludes our Sunday conversation for today. And I wish all of you a great week ahead. Remember, tomorrow we enter the day of the moon on the moon day. And this brightness of today may carry it into tomorrow and shine some warmth on the cold parts of the earth. So that's it for today. And you'll be able to find our, if you go to YouTube and you look for conversations, you could see it on both of our sites. We have a YouTube page, and you could view these again or for the first time, or send them to people who you think may benefit from them. You'll be able to do that. So on mine, I have a link tree, and you could go straight to that YouTube channel. And Dr. Esparza will have that this week, because I'm going to set it up. Link tree. Go straight to the YouTube page and anywhere the Zoom link that we're directing it to. Okay. We appreciate your patience as we perfect this vision we got going here. And
thank you, Chrissy. Thank you.
All right.
Totally appreciate it.
Of course.
All right.
Good day. Bye.
Bye.
I'm going to end this one first.
All right. Peace.